Welcome to the Career Clinic family. One of my favorite parts of the show because I am thoroughly excited about helping you with your career journey and helping each other. Like, let's share. Always feel free to hit me up on the hotline 1833 Radio HC or at Holy Culture on any of the social media channels. Love to hear your thoughts as well. Last week, during the interview, someone asked me a question about chasing passion and purpose and maybe having to repivot during your career and just thoughts on repivoting. There's a couple things that it made me really relook into, right? And one is when chasing passion and purpose, there could be some generational differences just on how that even gets started. For example, I'm a Gen X, right? And I think about myself, I think about my parents, other folks I know, colleagues and whatnot. And I think one of the things, and by the way, there's a book that really outlines some generational differences called Generations. It's a very good book. It talks about different things in generations. And one of the things I think that book does really well is underscore the point of don't make comparisons of good or bad with generations. It just is. It just is. Acknowledge what just is the generational differences. Don't make without comparison. But one of the things that I recognize is that in our generation, I believe most of us believed we had to do the work as it was to earn our way to working in our passion and purpose. We had to do the work as it was, take a job, so on and so forth. And it may be a job we were taking with a lot of intent, right? But in most cases, there still was a sense of earn it. I'll earn it and then get there. And I think with younger generations, they want purpose in their work from the onset. I don't blame them. I have no listen, I love that idea. If you can get purpose in your work from the onset and be rowing in a direction daily of the direction you want to go, by all means. Like I love that. That is a great thing. However, we do need to make an income. There's no two ways about that. Man don't work, man don't eat. That's biblical. You have to have an income. And so there's a few thoughts that then came to mind after that realization, if you will. And there's just three things I want to share that might help. Three or four things. One, don't let analysis paralysis stop you from making a move. And I want to underscore a move, right? If you figured out the direction, make moves towards it. The first job you take or the next step you take does not have to be that end state. It just needs to be on the way if it can, right? So let's use an example. I love examples. Perhaps you want to be a CFO and the financial engineer behind low income housing communities as your life's work. You're like, I know that's what I'm called to do. I'm supposed to manage the finances, be a CFO, be this financial engineer, helping create low income communities. Well, on the way to that work, you need to learn the different facets of accounting and finance, right? Accountant, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash flow, the books, managing the ledgers, all those different skills. So the very first gig you take, hopefully you're not expecting to be the CFO, but also it may not be directly center shot in terms of the work you want to end up doing. And you may need to be okay with that. Start somewhere. Learn the technical skills, learn the financial skills, and learn what it is to work for low income housing. What's that ecosystem look like? That's a different ecosystem, right? Government, etc. So think about the places you could do things. That's part one. Part two, consider jobs and such if you need to. If you need to, let me underscore, if you need to, consider jobs and such as mini experiments. Mini, MINI, experiments. Places that you're going to do some things, learn some stuff, but they're experimental to a certain degree. You're not going to necessarily be there forever. In fact, if you need a data point, median employment tenure is 4.3 years now for men, 3.8 years for women. That's median. So that means there's going to be some much lower than that and some higher than that. But it's not like it was 30 years ago where people expected to be in one place for 3 decades, right? It's that's not the expectation. And so think of these as pit stops along the journey, milestones, mini experiments. The third thing is remember, failure can be defined and failure is not fatal. Critical failure is having something not work and not taking a lesson from it. If you could take a lesson from it, I'll argue it's not critical failure for sure, but it might not even be failure. Again, it's a part of the experimentation process. Learn some good things that you can put to use. And then the last thing is keep it all in context. Man, context is so important, folks, when you're thinking about these things. It's easy for us to get isolated in our tunnel vision, which is a good thing sometimes, by the way, being able to focus at a high level and stay locked into something. But by the same token, you have to keep things in the right context. Here's one context to think about it. If you can do your life's work in your job, that is utopia. You would be in a very small population of people that are able to do that, to be doing their life's work and purpose in their day job, so to speak, in their day to day, the 8 hours, whatever per day. But I mean, if you can even find happiness, right? If you can even find happiness otherwise, you'd be in good shape. And statistically, let me tell you why that is. In 2022, 62.3% of US workers were satisfied. And that was an all-time high. Okay. I watched these statistics over the years. I've become a fan of watching these statistics. 62.3% of US workers were satisfied in 2022, which is an all-time high. If you do any Googling on this, that was an all-time high. So that's good that it's at an all-time high. But here's the other part of that. That still means 37.7%, almost 4 out of 10. Okay. Almost 4 out of 10 folks were unsatisfied. Now just think about that. Next time you're standing in line at the Wawa anywhere, just count off 10 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and go. 4 of them are here picking up this lunch and then hate what they're going to do the rest of the day. They are totally unsatisfied. I mean, just let that sit in for a second as a dose of reality. So again, working in your life's work every day, utopia. Finding somewhere where you can be satisfied is phenomenal in and of itself. You don't have to get to utopia from point one. Find somewhere you could be satisfied and learn some stuff. And I always love this bit of scripture from Paul, Philippians 4:11 through 12. I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. So beautifully said. Let me read that again. Philippians 4:11 through 12. I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want.